Good morning and welcome to 2025 Las Vegas Diecast SuperCon. My name is Brendan Allen. I'm from ComicCon.com. Joining me this morning from our title sponsor Jada is Mr. Daryl.
For this year, actually, you want to just run through the list of
Yeah, let's go for it. You were talking about you have an Insta collaboration with a influencer named Autumn, and you were telling me about that. It sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, so we are officially working with an influencer named Autumn Spooner on Instagram. She drives a pretty sweet Camaro ZL1. Decked out in a metallic purple, got some sweet rims on it. She does quite a few activations with Feel Fest, but just in general, we feel like, you know, not only is she a great person, but she's a great personality. She matches the brand persona for Pink Slips, and we feel that she's a perfect fit for it.
Right, and you were telling me about this. The branding is Pink Slips, and you've got a woman who's got a purple car.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that the packaging and everything about the line is meant to be inclusive but not exclusive. So it's not just like for ladies, but the women are very much involved in this line.
Correct. I think one of the unique things about this brand is its ability to be gender neutral and appeal to both men and women, to be truly, truly inclusive, right? I think when you're looking at the packaging on shelf at a retail store, it really stands out. You know, it's black and pink among a sea of, you know, white packaging. It just instantly catches your eye. So we're super excited about that. And then getting back into that gender neutrality point, when we're looking at, you know, data in terms of what our average consumer is, obviously with diecast and radio control, it skews very heavily towards the male side. We want to be able to have things that cater to, you know, the females out there as well, because, you know, we're starting to notice more and more female empowerment within the automotive space, and we think that's really cool. So being able to have something that caters to them as well is something that we take a lot of pride in.
Well, that's one of the things that, you know, Johnny and Steve, they opened up one of us comics. I don't know if you've been to the location yet.
Not yet.
But the new store, you know, they've got the comics here and the collectibles in the back, and they've got the card, I forget, Game Day maybe. But, and then off to the side, Johnny's daughter's got a little spot that's called Girls World.
Super cool.
And so they're doing the same thing where it's like comics, like, you know, I mean, it's not specifically like just for girls, but it's inviting women into a space that's been mostly dominated by men.
Correct.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then you had something else that you're going to make a Liberty Walk.
Yeah, so that's the second collaboration in no particular order. So for us at Jada, as far as our history goes, we do a lot of business at the mass level, you know, and things like that. Certainly we have our own IP that performs very, very well, in addition to some licensed things. But starting in, I want to say mid-2023, going into 2025 now, we've put a big focus on really emphasizing the grassroots community within car culture and making authentic cars that really resonate with the automotive enthusiasts. And it just so happens that a lot of the automotive enthusiasts are also diecast collectors, right? So there's a nice bridge there. And so we've been trying to negotiate deals with the popular aftermarket companies to start incorporating some of their look and their brands into our diecast collectibles. And Liberty Walk is the next one in line, and that's one that we're very excited about. So a lot of big things coming with them.
So these guys in Japan, they're real big for like wide body kits, and you're going to make scale versions of those. Now, is this modular, like where you can take the tires off, you can change out the fender kits and the spoilers and things like that, or is it going to come as a made car?
It's going to come as a made car, and it'll come in a variety of different scales. We're known mostly for the 124 scale, so that's where we're going to have it. But certainly you'll see some in possibly the 132. We're also working on a few RC selections, 116, and we also have them available currently in 118. So a nice variety.
Nice. And, you know, when you're talking about the crossover between diecast and the car community, it's funny because that's coming up a lot more at these conventions that I'm going to where they have a car show, they have diecast, and I'm noticing a lot of, you know, when we had Brendan on the VIP tour the other night, and all of these car guys that are super excited about cars are super excited about Brendan being there because he makes the diecast models of the cars that they love so much, and there's so much nostalgia. We've got Ixo America over here doing the, you know, the 70s and things like that, and it's like there's so much like nostalgia and just good feelings tied into these cars. And then when you can make a version or have a version of the car that you drive, that's got to be a great feeling.
Well, I think it's also two things, right? Leaning into that. It's almost like the cars themselves are their own personality, and in its own way, the cars become aspirational, right? They're like their own character, their own icon, and I think that's the coolest thing about it. And then the second thing is what we always talk about internally is when you're able to create a die-cast of an actual car, and it's almost like it is immortalizing, right? And really, for the owner, it's like the cherry on top. Like, you have your car immortalized in die-cast form. That's something that lives forever, and that's not something that everybody can have, right? So I think that's where we get a lot of excitement.
Well, and Johnny has said before, and I love this line, he's like, I don't sell toys, I don't sell collectibles, I sell time machines. I take you back to the happiest parts of your childhood, and it's like, that's brilliant.
That's
I was in
amazing.
your booth the other day, and you got a speed racer over there.
Yeah.
So you're licensing this thing from the 80s that was in Japan, so there's the market for the original, then there's a market for the reboot. They're doing comics now of it.
Yep, correct. Fun fact, we did have Speed Racer years ago. And it's just so funny because I do truly believe that timing is everything. We've had a few properties and brands that have been with Jada from very, very early on. And at the time when we released them, like, it did okay. But now with this whole, movement of people really leaning into nostalgia and things like that, we feel like now the time is right to bring certain things back, Speed Racer being one of them. And so we do have the pre-production sample in our booth, and it looks amazing.
It really does. You could sell it as is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And people would buy it because
Yeah.
it's gorgeous in that stripped. It's like aluminum or diecast or steel or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's got that look of
actual diecast.
a car that's in process.
Correct.
Like if they were building this a full scale, they'd be fabricating the panels and things like that,
Yeah.
and then it would look like that before it got its paint job. I love it as is.
That's the kind of look that the collectors are always geeking out over, because it's not every day, at least from a diecast manufacturer point, where you're able to see that and experience that part of the process. And so, we've worked very closely with Steve and the rest of the diecast Supercon team here to donate some of those pre-production samples, not the Speed Racer one, but some of the other ones that we've been working on internally, just as a nice give back and thank you to a lot of the fans out there. So it's
Well, and I
definitely a
noticed
cool
that,
piece.
as the title sponsor and we're doing these events for these giveaways and different charity auctions and things that are happening, you guys have provided a lot of material to give away. And they're really cool pieces.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at it going, am I eligible to play bingo? Because I want that.
We're just trying to do our part as good partners, and certainly it's just a small token of appreciation for us to give back to the absolutely amazing community, and I think that's one of the bonuses in being here. We personally love being able to have the FaceTime with the people that are actually out there collecting our stuff, that really loves to engage with the brand. We've had quite a few people just come up to us with nothing but good words and good compliments to say, and to be able to hear that in person and put a face to a name, especially for us as a brand, and really develop that interpersonal connection that's truly important to us. And so that's a big win for us to be here.
Well, and one of the things that's really telling is you guys had a little bit of a production snafu, and that happens in any line of business, right?
Yeah.
It happens in comics, it happens in film. You're not selling anything here, and your booth is still full every time I walk by. People are still there to talk to you, to find out what's coming out or whatever, because without even a transaction happening, it's just so important that you guys are here and that people are able to talk to the designers and talk to about these collaborations and things that are coming up. The fact that people still come around is really telling about who you are and your presence at these conventions.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Again, the team at Jada is a super tight-knit family, and I think that really resonates with a lot of the people that come through. It's something that they really identify with and they can pick apart right away. Just the synergy that we have going on with our team every time we come to these kinds of things. And again, to be able to put that on in front of the fans and have them interact with us, it's truly an invaluable experience and something that we always walk away from these shows with. It's like, wow, that was really, really cool. How do we do more of this?
That's great. That's great. Now, another collaboration you mentioned earlier was with Sun King, and we know him as Han from Tokyo Drift. Fast and Furious is massive right now. It's like bigger than it's ever been. And we're 11 films in now, 12 films in?
Getting into 11. It's quite the franchise. Certainly we are great partners with Universal. We do the majority of the Fast and Furious vehicles in the 124 scale, among others as well. And so it's just kind of a hand-in-glove fit. I think the fun and interesting thing about our collaboration with Sung is that he is truly a car enthusiast at heart. And so in our collaboration, it's not so much with Sung King, the actor, but more so Sung King, the car enthusiast. And so we really want to be able to highlight that and partner with him to be able to tell his story about, how he came about building his cars, what's the meaning and significance behind them, what inspired him to build the car, things like that. I think that is a point of differentiation that doesn't get highlighted as much with these kinds of personalities. And so we are super excited to be at the forefront of that and being able to work with him in that capacity.
And that's really cool. And that's one of the things that, so, I obviously come from a comics background.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens is you get these celebrities who come in, and sometimes you can tell they're just making a comic book to make a quick buck.
Sure.
And a lot of people really hate that. But then you get guys like Kevin Smith and Keanu Reeves who come in. And Keanu Reeves just did a book called Berserker, right? And everybody was so ready to hate it because Keanu Reeves, what does he know? And we thought it was a placeholder for a film that he was going to make, which it is.
Yeah.
He wants to make the Berserker movie. But he had such a good time and learned so much about comics making Berserker that they had a whole second arc come out that's now being written.
Oh, wow.
So it's that thing where he came in, he showed respect to the industry,
Yeah.
he brought his talents to the table, and now it's spawning into other projects. And it's really cool when we have that crossover when you've got Sung, who's so interested in what you do, and you're obviously interested in what he's doing, and you
Right.
guys come together and you're making these great things happen.
Correct. That's super cool. And I think that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. Going back to my point of, our team being so close and you kind of have this synergy and you can tell that there's an authenticity around it. It's the same way that we view our collaboration with Sung. There's a true authenticity between both parties there. And I think that's ultimately what resonates with people in the fan base and, things like that. So, again, we want to approach things from a very authentic point of view. And not have it feel forced. And when it feels natural, I think that's when you get the greatest product and the greatest relationship. So,
Now, are you guys planning on making a comic book down the line?
never say never. You never know.
Because I know some people, we could make some things happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could be a very interesting angle to explore, actually. Not one personally that I've, had a thought for, but now that I'm up here kind of thinking about it, I think we could connect the dots a little
If
bit.
you sit there and you look at like street racing and how that's become so mainstream, like we've got panels here with guys that are from some of the shows where they're doing street racing, they're building cars, they're doing restorations on people's cars and things like that. Like this culture is very much entrenched in pop culture now, and to the point where you could almost do anything you want and people are going to buy it.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I am a big sucker for anything related to storytelling. And so any opportunity there is to be able to story tell from multiple points of view always grabs my attention, whether that's through photo, through video, through comic book, or through text and verbiage, right? I'm all for it. So, like I said, never say never.
That's nice. All right, so you saw what we did yesterday here at the show. What are you excited about to see today?
Honestly, it's so cool, like I said earlier, to be able to have FaceTime with the people that are truly enthusiastic about your brand. But I think one thing that is truly cool for, a lot of us that exhibit at these shows is just to be able to see the familiar faces within, the space. We're all friends, despite what might be out there and things like that. We all have love for the community and we all have respect for one another. So that's the biggest takeaway. And the second biggest takeaway here, certainly we have our that's focused strictly on Jada tomorrow at the show. And being able to have the opportunity to present to, the attendees at the show, to give them a highlight reel of what we were working on in this past year in 2024, but also tease them with a few things that we're working on 2025. This is the only space where you would be able to get something like that from us as a brand in person, and I think that's something to look forward to.
Well, and you mentioned something there that I think is important, is that, you are here and Ixo America's here and the different companies are represented. Hot Wheels, I don't think they're boothing, but they have a couple of guys here.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's enough space here for everybody to do their niche, the different
Absolutely.
scales, there's 1 to 6, there's 140, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's doing a slightly different thing. There's, Ixo America's coming in with these cars from like the 70s that are underrepresented.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing the cars that you're doing. You've got your licenses and things. And there is just that community here between not just you and the fans that are coming up, but also between the manufacturers. And you guys are kicking stuff off each other. I see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like running feedback through each other, right? And I think at the end of the day, being respectful and being able to admire, another company's work is cool. And at the end of the day, what we say internally is it's a big benefit to the community in general, right? Always striving to push the boundaries and give collectors, another reason to be able to keep this hobby and this passion alive. That's something that really resonates with us internally, and I think that's represented in the product that we continue to push out. But at the end of the day, competition is great for the entire industry because it keeps it alive, it keeps it fun, it keeps it interesting. And so, again, so people who come to an event like this, see familiar faces, update each other with, what we're working with, to just be able to go there, sit down, and support one another and have that FaceTime.
Well, and another thing that I'm seeing is you guys are attending each other's panels.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to know what the new drop is. Everybody wants to know what the new thing is coming out. And
Yeah.
it's very cool because, iron sharpens iron. And it's
Exactly.
not pie.
Yeah.
Just because you get a piece doesn't mean I can't. There's, there's not a limited, collectors are going to collect.
Yeah.
And I see the guys, that are going and they're spending a car payment's worth of money at your booth is also
Yeah.
spending a car payment's worth of money at that booth and that booth. They're going around, and it's not because they're spending money here that they're not going to spend money over there because everybody's got these varied and wide interests in the hobby.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like I said, that's one of the biggest takeaways for us. Certainly we're known for a few things. I know there's a bunch of other companies here known for their own things. XO America's coming out with their own thing, as you mentioned. Lewis with Cartoon and MGA and their team are doing great things with that brand. So we're just excited to see this hobby and this space continue to thrive in its own way, and it's continuing to grow. We're happy to be a part of it, and we're happy to continue to help push it, to a much further space.
Nice, fantastic. So I have to ask, because most of the people that are collecting cars also have really nice cars at home.
Yeah?
So what's your daily driver?
Oh, man, my daily driver. This is going to sound a little over the top, but I drive a Porsche 911 Turbo for a daily.
Yeah, I got one of those.
I got so much love for the 911, and it's so funny because I feel like that car has kind of messed me up mentally, where I'm just convinced that that's the best street car that you can have.
Nice. So is it factory? Have you done mods to it? Does it have livery on it?
It's got some modifications to it, but nothing crazy. Wheels, drop, exhaust. That car right out of the box is
You
just...
said nothing crazy, but a new suspension, different wheels, different tires.
That to me is like the baseline for a car, though, okay? Like the 911 out the box is such a good car. It honestly doesn't need much. And when I mean much, I'm talking like crazy body kits, livery and all that stuff. That's for the other car.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So today, what do we have? We have a bunch of content over on the Jada stage. We've got content on this stage. This is the influencer stage, so they're going to be doing a bunch of live stuff here. For the attendees, there is a QR code that you can scan to get everybody's schedule. The guys from Diecast Breakdown are going to be broadcasting live from this stage all day long. So if you're looking for entertainment, there's this stage, the Jada stage over there. All of these booths are over here. Jada, our title sponsor, is immediately behind us.
That's correct.
Right around this corner. And you should go check out the production models they have for that Speed Racer and the different things over there and talk to them about the things that are coming out.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention. So I alluded to it a little bit before. We do have our panel tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. at the Jada main stage. There's been quite a few questions about our SuperCon exclusive, which unfortunately we decided not to sell just due to some challenges. However, we are going to be giving away a very, very limited amount of them tomorrow at our panel. So you definitely want to come through for that. To be entered for that, just come to our booth. You'll get some raffle tickets. Simple as that.
And I want to point out too is the reason why the reason why this car is not here, the exclusive, is because you guys have such exacting standards for what you put on the market.
Correct.
Like if it is not perfect, you don't want people like having it and like that representing who you are as a company.
Exactly.
And
100%.
it's probably stuff that's so small that like an average person like me who's not in the hobby wouldn't even notice, but you know, and so you're not going to put it out.
Yeah, 100%. We stand by our products 110%, and we only want to put out the best for the collectors, right? And this one's a bigger deal because this is our first time in having a collaboration with Majorette. And so we definitely want to be able to put our best foot forward in terms of brand representation and things like that. So you nailed it.
Nice. All right, so go check out Jada over here. They're going to be on the big stage tomorrow. Get your raffle tickets because you definitely want to get those. They're more limited now than they would have been even.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So thank you very much. We'll see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.